Just had to work out.
All right, we're going live.
Okay, good evening, Costa Mesa. Welcome to the City Council meeting for Tuesday, September 15th, 2020. I now call the meeting to order. Now is the time in the meeting for our national anthem. And the national anthem tonight is a replay from last year's Hispanic Heritage Month performance by Mariachi Juvenil Herencia Mexicana. And we will have the national anthem, and then that will be followed immediately by a video presentation of the Calvary Chapel Costa Mesa Pack 316 Boy Scouts. They will be posting their colors and leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. The videos are edited together, so it will go as one stream. And so if you could all silence your microphones at this time, and we will have the pledge by the mariachi group. Thank you.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly red at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous flight, oh, the ramparts we watched was so gallantly streaming, and the rocket eagle, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner wave? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Audience attention. Color guard attention. Color guard, advance. Color guard, halt. Color guard, prepare to present the colors. Color guard, present the colors. Scout salute. If you're not in uniform, please place your right hand over your heart. Face the colors. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2. Audience, you may be seated.
That's great. I really appreciate our city team doing that. And then we also tonight will have our moment of solemn expression, and that will be from Pastor Dave Mann from Calvary Chapel as well. Ms. Green, can you please take Pastor, is it Mann, off of mute to lead the moment of solemn expression?
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh,
Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you. I'm honored to be with you again this evening, and we're looking forward to the meeting this evening. I want to thank you for inviting me in and sending me the agenda and the matters tonight that you're going to be going through. So we'll pray now, and Lord, we ask your blessing upon the mayor and each of the council members who have been gathered this evening and who have been called to leadership and to serve our community. And we pray for blessing upon our police department and fire department for their continued protection and commitment to bringing safety to all of the families and the residents here in Costa Mesa. So Lord, now in the matters that are before us tonight, guide us with wisdom, with clarity and unity in the decisions, Lord, that will be forthcoming. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. God bless you guys, and thank you for this time tonight.
Thank you so much. Okay. And I want to thank Dane Bora and his team for helping the Boy Scouts troop to be able to do the flag ceremony. It was part of a patch that they needed to do. And so it was great that they were able to do that because we had originally had planned for them to come to the council meetings earlier in the year. Okay, so we have now the city clerk is going to take the roll by voice roll call.
Councilmember Chavez.
Here.
Councilmember Guinness.
Here.
Councilmember Mansour.
Here.
Councilmember Marr.
Here.
Councilmember Reynolds.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Stevens.
Here.
Mayor Foley.
I'm present, and go ahead. City Attorney, did you have a closed session report, Ms. Barlow?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. There was no reportable action taken in closed session this evening.
Okay, we have 3 presentations tonight, and one of them is a proclamation that my fellow council members are going to join me, as well as the city manager, in presenting in recognition of Hispanic Heritage Month. Hispanic Heritage Month runs September 15th through October 15th. And National Hispanic Heritage Month has roots dating back to 1968. So that's 54 years, with the establishment of National Hispanic Heritage Week, and was updated in 1988 to encompass a full month. The period begins on the anniversary of the independence of 5 Latin American countries: Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. Belize, Chile, and Mexico also celebrate their independence days during this period. Whereas each year from September 15th to October 15th, Americans across the United States observe National Hispanic Heritage Month by celebrating the histories, the cultures, contributions of the Hispanics and Latinos to the United States and those American citizens whose ancestry can be traced from Spain, Mexico, Caribbean islands, Central America, and South America. And whereas Hispanics and Latinos have deep roots in the city of Costa Mesa. Today, residents of Hispanic and Latino origin represent 36% of the city's population. Next up, we have the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Considerando generaciones de hispanos y latinos son una parte esencial del tejido de Costa Mesa, amplificando el éxito y la diversidad de nuestra comunidad con su fortaleza, espíritu, vitalidad e iniciativa empresaria y
considerando durante estos tiempos inciertos y turbulentos, los hispanos y latinos de Costa Mesa permanecen unidos y fuertes, prosperan y enriquecen a nuestra comunidad.
Y considerando que este mes pruebe una oportunidad para reflexionar sobre la historia de nuestros países y para celebrar a nuestros residentes que identifican con ser hispanos y latinos. La ciudad de Costa Mesa reconoce y aplaude los éxitos y las contribuciones de nuestra comunidad hispana y latina. Y, Mayor Foley.
Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor Katrina Foley, do hereby proclaim the 31-day period beginning September 15th through and ending October 15th, 2020 to be Hispanic Heritage Month, and encourage all Costa Mesa residents to increase their cultural awareness by learning the important role that our Hispanic and Latino community has played in contributing to our city's prosperity. Thank you all for joining me. I appreciate that. That was fun. Okay, we also have another presentation tonight, and that is, it's another big week.
It is Constitution Week of 2020. The Constitution is very important, and we have, I don't know if anybody knew this, but there's a week that we celebrate the Constitution. It's September 17th through the 23rd of 2020. Whereas September 17th, 2018 marks the 2020 marks the 233rd anniversary of the framing of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. And whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate it. And whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America, designating September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week. And whereas Robert F. Kennedy once beautifully put it, quote, "The glory of justice and the majesty of law are created not just by the Constitution, nor by the courts, nor by the officers of the law, nor by the lawyers, but by the men and women who constitute our society, who are the protectors of the law as they are themselves protected by the law. And now, therefore, I, Katrina Foley, Mayor of the City of Costa Mesa, do hereby proclaim September 17th through the 23rd of 2020 as Constitution Week, and remind all that the celebration's goals are threefold: to encourage the study of the historical events that led to the framing of the Constitution in September 1787, to inform people that the Constitution is the basis of America's great heritage and the foundation of our way of life, and to emphasize the responsibility of everyday people to protect, defend, and preserve the Constitution. So thank you for that. Con law, remember, one of my favorite courses in law school. Okay, next we have one of our favorite topics coming up, presentation. I believe that, I'm not sure who's giving the presentation, but on Coyote Management. I know there's lots of coyotes out there because I see them in my own backyard nearly every day.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council, and staff. This is Ken Bacala. I have with me Lieutenant Clint Deball, who's just taken over animal control recently. We have a PowerPoint presentation. Is it up on your screen?
No, it's not yet.
How about now?
No, did you hit the screen share screen button?
I did. Let's see. I apologize. No. Brad, I apologize. We practiced this too. There, do you have it now?
I'm sorry, we do not.
I'm hitting screen share and it's showing up on mine. Let me try to go like this.
There we go.
There we go, okay. I'm gonna have to pull it back up, I apologize. Give me a second. Let's pull it on.
Not to worry, it's tough.
There we go. Okay, now do you have it? Okay, here's our management strategy. As always, it's based on public education and within laws and regulations prohibiting the feeding of wildlife throughout the state. And then we have an appropriate balance of responses to coyote and human interactions. And this requires input from our stakeholders. If we look, here's our coyote activity comparing 2018, 2019 to 2019 2019 and 2020, you will see that we had a downward trend in all of our reporting except the number of dogs taken by coyotes. We had actually 3 during this last year, as opposed to 2 in 2018 to 2019. We attribute this downward trend due to COVID, because there's been more human activity in and around households. So coyotes may have been seen around houses, as you have, Madam Mayor. However, the coyote's been frightened off. Here's our map of coyote interaction for 2018 to 2019. I'd like you to take particular attention to this area right here and this area right here. We had several habituated coyotes in those areas, and we ended up performing our trapping, and we ended up in between August of 2019 and August of 2020, we had to euthanize 9 coyotes that have been habituated or were injured. And if you look at the 2019 areas, same areas, 2019, 2020, you'll see these areas almost free of coyote activity. I'd like to mention that although we euthanized the coyote, we had to, because people were they're habituated through feeding predominantly, or they were severely injured. This management of the coyotes, I spoke to Dr. Quinn, we all know her, and she stated that we cannot kill our way out of a problem, we have to manage it effectively. In a rural coyote setting, if you reduce the numbers by 30%, you could get a possible downward trend. She said that's impossible and has never been duplicated in a city setting. However, if we accidentally kill the wrong coyote, say we kill the breeding, there's only a breeding pair per pack. If we accidentally kill the female in a breeding pair, all the other coyotes in that pack go into estrus and they will pup, and they will each have a litter instead of just one litter from one female. One more here. Okay. And then we had of course, we had our coyote management plan planned for April of 2020, our community meetings, and they were canceled due to COVID. And then we have a Coyote Awareness Month, April of 2021. And we have 2 days of community meetings, one on April 6th and the other one on April 15th. And Dr. Quinn, Dave Dodge, and Animal Control will be present. And hopefully we'll have a large number of people in the community room. And we have that reserved. That is the completion of our presentation, pending your questions.
Council members, are there any questions for Captain Bacala or Lieutenant Deball? I'm trying to find the participants here. It's not letting me. Sorry. Now I'm having trouble. Okay, there we go. Okay, nobody has any questions? All right. I had one question. So could you address, so there have been, coyotes, people feel, I think more people are home, and so they see more coyotes. That's what I think. They probably were there before, it's just we weren't all home. So what are some things that are different than what we've been doing that you would recommend that we could do, if anything? Short of killing the coyotes, which I don't think anyone supports. Are you there? You're on mute.
If we see if you see anybody in the city feeding a coyote, please report it to the police immediately. 525-714-754-5255. And we'll try to get an officer out there immediately, because it is against the law to feed wild animals. Additionally, continue to walk your pets on 6-foot leashes no longer. Do not let your pets off leash. Be mindful of leaving food in your backyard, etc.
Okay, there is a couple of coyotes that are the Jack Hammett sports fields. Maybe somebody can kind of just monitor that a little bit.
Yes, we've been watching for them and trying to actually catch those ones.
Okay. All righty. Okay. Thank you so much. I don't see any questions. So thank you for your report. We appreciate the update.
Good evening.
Okay, good night. Now we're moving on to public comments. Public comments will be heard at this time on items that are not on the agenda. If you'd like to speak to in the public comment section, you can use the participants window to raise your hand, or you can use the press *9 on your phone to raise your hand, and then press *6 to begin speaking. Let's see, let me see if I have the attendees. Do we have any? Oh, yes, we have speakers. Okay, the first speaker is Pacific Investment Management Company.
Ma'am, good evening.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening to you. Just a quick comment, I'll let you go. You guys are busy. But I did want to say something that kind of affected me from a couple weeks ago. I was hired by Bill Gross years ago to study the effect of GDBs, or guaranteed defined benefits, or better known as pensions, and their effect on any given municipality. And I've been doing that for years. Now, gentleman Mansour, pardon me, am I pronouncing that correctly? Mansour?
Yes.
He stated 2 weeks ago that he's a pension reformer and that he's done many things up in Sacramento and worked tirelessly regarding pension reform. Well, we researched that. I have a group of 5 people, and we researched that. There's not one utterance, not one publication, not one bill with his name on it, period. So I don't know who he is or why he's trying to sell that as public knowledge, but he's not anything to do with anything regarding guaranteed defined benefits or public pensions. So I appreciate your time. Have a wonderful night. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
There he is right there. Maybe he can respond.
May I please briefly respond?
Sure.
I put
Yeah, why don't you
bill
go ahead and
forward,
Go ahead,
sir.
Councilmember Mansour, I am recognizing you. If you would just give me a moment. Councilmember Mansour.
I appreciate it. So I put bills forward. They were not passed. The majority in Sacramento does not support that type of reform. But make no mistake, I put bills forward, and I can get you that information. Contact me, email me. I'll get you whatever you need. Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Russell Toller.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the council. My name is Russell Toller. I'm part of the Alliance for Better Streets, Costa Mesa Alliance for Better Streets, or CMABS. I just wanted to remind everybody, in case you missed it, there's a couple traffic calming demonstrations over on the west side. It's just this week. They're going to be taken out this Friday. So if you get a chance, head over to West 19th and Monrovia, and especially to Wallace and Center to check them out. There's also been some good coverage in the Register and the Daily Pilot about these things that provide a little more background. So I just want to say we're super excited that this got off the ground. We put in a ton of hard work. A lot of people coordinated and in their spare time, even though we all have full-time jobs and we have families, and we figured out how to make this work. And a lot of it had to do with staff being so helpful and patient with us. I just want to give just a little bit of background. This was done with a $10,000 SCAG mini grant, and these mini grants are intended to increase the safety of vulnerable street users, so people who depend on walking and biking to get around. Over a third of that money was spent on outreach, and during that outreach process, we got a lot of feedback. A lot of people emphasized the general unpleasantness of West 19th, and they identified car speeds and reckless, aggressive driving as factors in what made it so unpleasant. So these pop-up projects are an example of what's called tactical urbanism, which is community-led, iterative process of testing ways of making our streets more comfortable by utilizing volunteer labor and inexpensive materials. And that's exactly what we've done. And I just want to emphasize that the project really isn't about traffic circles or even about the specific intersections we chose. It's about figuring out together with the community, with staff, with the leaders, how we might make our streets safer and how we might do it efficiently, effectively from the ground up. And this project really moved us forward in establishing this kind of process in Costa Mesa where more of this sort of thing might be possible. Just want to point out, we're the city of the arts. We hired a local artist, Selena Mendoza, to do those cool murals on the asphalt that everyone's been taking pictures of. And we wanted these to be beautiful because it's not just about traffic calming, it's about placemaking. And I'll just wrap up a case in point. Last night, there was a bit of a backup at the Monrovia one, but not because of the traffic circle, but because a couple of young kids had set up a little concert on one of the corners with their cellos, and drivers were stopping to drop money in their bags. We want to ask, well, where else in public space in Costa Mesa could that happen? We love that sort of thing. And we want to know why that's happening now and not next week. So we just think if you add a little color, some more trees, slow the car traffic down a bit, those are the sort of things that we can do. And those are effective in transforming places that are ugly, dangerous, into places that people actually want to be, rather than just get through as quickly as they can.
Thank you. It's been 3 minutes.
Okay,
Great,
yeah.
thank you. Thank you so much. Next speaker is Flo Martin.
As a member of Costa Mesa Alliance for Better Streets, I sat at the turnaround or turnabout on Center and Wallace on Saturday between 2 and 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I watched about 200 drivers go through this turnaround. Even though there were 4 stop signs in each direction, I would say 1 out of 4 on average drivers did not stop, but did what I call a California roll. One thing that the city can do now, as of next week, is with a bucket of red paint red curbs on all 8 sides of this intersection. Currently, there is stop sign only on Center, but no stop signs on Wallace. And cars are parked almost up to the corner, obliterating any kind of view for drivers who are waiting for Wallace drivers to cruise on through. I spoke with a lot of neighbors, interviewed about 8 to 10 people, cyclists as well as pedestrians and young moms, and almost all of them love this new turnaround that is sadly temporary at this point in time. So again, I repeat, red paint and paint all curbs approaching the intersection of Wallace and Center. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, next speaker is Jim Erickson.
Good evening, council, staff, Madam Mayor. I brought a short presentation. Can you see it?
No.
Oh.
There we go. Now here we go. Looks like we're.
Okay. So good evening, everybody. Jim Erickson, lifelong resident, and whenever it's deemed necessary, I host the PAX Commission meetings too. And I just wanted to share some thoughts on what I've been doing in the last few months, and some mobilize and energize and keep people healthy. So first, I mean, in an effort to stay healthy, go play at our parks. One study I've been reading of many from the Journal of American Medical Association links a deficiency of vitamin D with a much greater chance of catching COVID. So in addition to building strong bones, vitamin D can help you stay really healthy. And vitamin D is the only vitamin that we can all give residents completely free of charge, because when you step outside into natural sunlight, vitamin D synthesizes through your skin. So go play at the parks to stay healthy. Next slide, please. Get healthy, go play at our parks. Obesity was an epidemic before COVID, it will be one afterwards. And in a study published by the American Association for the Advancement of Science, a doctor says, if you're heavy, just losing a little bit is likely to have a disproportionate benefit on how well you do with a coronavirus infection. You don't have to become a Slim Jim to benefit. That's Dr. Stephen O'Reilly. So go play at the parks. Let's all lose a pound or two if we can manage. Next slide, please. So what have I been doing? Gosh, as soon as the parks opened up again in the spring, I walked all of them because I figure pretty much everybody in Costa Mesa knows how to walk, and we should energize our parks in this fashion, encourage people to be healthy and get to know their own parks. And so I walked all of them, made a walking map complete with a distance, and put everyone down on its own slide, and included some kind of fun facts about the park. And in July, I shared this with Parks Department head Jason Minter. I appreciate his taking of this study, and I hope that as a city we can find more ways to encourage walking, just as a basic option for knowing your park and utilizing it. And more good people in the parks make the parks better. So next slide. Just another one. I walked 26 parks. I think we have 31. Some of them are a little small, like Raleigh Park, so you can kind of just do a cartwheel there, but the rest I walked. Next slide. And there's Tewinkle, just for fun. So next slide. If walking is too boring for you, I could refer you to a presentation I made in 2018 about disc golf. It's a great way to walk through the park. It's cheap. Disc golf basket costs about $150. It's easy to implement. I put one out at Canyon Park a few weekends ago just for fun for an hour, and had a lot of strangers come up to me and say how they played once and they really enjoyed it. So it's easy for any age group or ability. It's a multi-generational game, and it's easy to maintain social distance. So it's something to consider as an inexpensive way to modify and enhance our parks and get more people out into them. Next slide, please.
Sir, could you wrap it up? It's been 3 minutes, please.
Yep, this is the last one. So this is how we could advertise. It's an easy way. Everybody's got a smartphone. In fact, you could see one from a local nonprofit there on the slide. And if we could work towards this end, I think getting those walking maps out into the park and onto people's phones could be a worthy and ultimate goal. So that's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. That sounds like a great idea to present to the Parks Commission.
Maybe in September.
Okay. Okay, we don't have any other speakers, so we will close public comment. And at this time, we will go to council member committee reports, comments, and suggestions. We will, Ms. Green, I know you're going to be the timer. We'll start with Councilmember Mansour.
The only comments I have tonight are if anyone has any questions for me and any issues, please take the time to email me. I know there was a gentleman speaking earlier. I hope he takes the time to contact me, and I always encourage that of everyone in the community. I stand by my record. I stand by things I say. If I made a mistake, I'll own up to it. But please reach out. I hope that gentleman does. I do support pension reform. I've put bills forward. They got killed by the majority. That is just the reality. So, but hopefully he will contact me. Thank you so much.
Okay, Councilor Guinness.
Recently, Pasadena moved forward on preparing to challenge their regional housing needs numbers. Amongst the factors that they are citing is changing conditions due to COVID-19. I'm not quite sure whether they have data on that, but there are other cities too that are preparing on that. So I think it would be helpful if we could kind of touch base with some of those cities, particularly in light of the new information from Freddie Mac that instead of the 3.5 million housing units needed statewide as postulated by the governor, the Freddie Mac study shows about a quarter of that. So I think that's a huge discrepancy, and somehow it should be resolved. I don't think we can resolve it, but it's not something we should just take the other number and run with it. Regarding the community choice aggregates, I'm glad we're moving forward on that, but I do hope we will continue to investigate the community choice aggregates that are done in various locations, not just the nearby one in Irvine. There are several of them that are operating now. Some of them may have openings, some of them don't, but we want to give the whole point of this is to give our community a choice. And so we want to make sure that our community has the best choices, not just a choice, but the best choice. And I think that means that we look at more than just one. And then finally, regarding the roundabouts, it's great that we're looking at creative solutions. I love the things with the combs and the planners to kind of try different things out. But at the same time, I do hope that before we do any more of these, our first consultation would be, and first priority would be emergency response, just to make sure that none of these will in any way impair any emergency vehicle from taking access to any of our residents or businesses. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Next speaker will be Councilmember Reynolds.
Great, thank you. So I'll start where Councilmember Guinness left off with the traffic circle demonstrations. I want to give a big congratulations to all the Costa Mesa residents who traversed the very first roundabout they've ever touched in their life. It was very clear in the first couple of days that I think it was the first time many people had ever approached a roundabout. As we heard from one of the members during public comment, this is a demonstration project that's been really interesting and I think a great experiment in this type of traffic safety design. I believe we'll get a report at the end of this. But one thing that's been very, very, very clear, regardless of whether people like this particular design, and many people do as well. It's very, very clear that people want us to take action on roadway safety. Lots and lots of feedback on cars moving too fast. How do we slow down cars? In fact, one of the most common negative comments was no roundabouts, but I want the roundabout somewhere else. So there was a lot of information shared about other places in the city where we really need to figure out ways to slow down traffic. So thank you to the members of the Costa Mesa Alliance for Better Streets for winning that grant and bringing this opportunity to the city. And thank you to all of the staff members who have been a part of the project and helped, are continuing to help answer many questions. On the same vein, a couple more active transportation topics. A few days ago, I was on my daily run to Moongoat Coffee. I saw a group of folks with their bicycles. So I asked where they had biked from, curious if they had gone through the roundabout. And they said they had actually biked from Westminster, which I thought was really interesting. They said they came down the river trail and then through Fairview Park. So it reminded me of a project from a long time ago, long before I was on council, where there was some, Mayor Foley will remember, there was some strategies around signs along the riverbed to encourage people to come into Costa Mesa to stop for coffee. And as we think about different ways to support economic development, I think that may be something, another sort of low-cost measure we can implement to make the riverbed a little bit more friendly and encourage more of the biking crowd to come into our city and buy our food and coffee. Last on Bike and Walk, one of the efforts that the committee has been working on for a long time is getting more bike racks in the city. All of our bike rack installations have been done in public places, of course, and those have been wonderful. A couple of years now, the committee has been asking about opportunities to install bike racks on private locations to support, again, businesses that don't have bike rack infrastructure. So I think it'd be great if we could get an answer on that and possibly move forward with that idea as well. My understanding is we have got excess funds, grants specifically for bike racks, and there's a lot of, I think, places in front of businesses that we could install those. I love the ideas that Commissioner Erickson presented to us. I think these are more fantastic, very low-cost ways we can activate parks in safe ways while we still have our playgrounds closed and other limits in how we can recreate. We should be really creative in what we can do to continue to activate our parks and get folks to still see each other and socialize from a distance. And lastly, just want to make a comment on Hispanic Heritage Month. this was something that was very important to me. Worked really hard last year to get going, and just want to take a moment to talk about it. This is a really important opportunity for us to focus on the celebration of the diversity in our city. When we talk to people about what they love about Costa Mesa, so much of it is about the eclectic nature of our city, the diversity in our city. And it's been such a hard year in so many ways. It's nice to specifically take time this month, or I guess 2.5 months, to celebrate that diversity, diverse voices, really being an inclusive community. So please this month, just take a little bit of extra time thinking about our artists. We had engaged Selena Mendoza, a local Latina artist, in the Roundabout project. Think about our Hispanic Latino music groups. We heard that earlier today with the national anthem. And if you've got it, spend your money at some of our Hispanic and Latino owned businesses. We launched Hispanic Heritage Month last year at Avila, as a well-known family-owned business, and got lots of great food out there for you to enjoy. So enjoy the celebration this month. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you so much for starting and kicking us off last year. We hope that with the author, which I understand has led to a lot of great relationships. And hopefully next year, we can have a much bigger celebration at our new community center. Next speaker up is, I don't think she got my joke, is Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And that author was Victor Villaseñor, who actually wrote my favorite book, or one of my two favorite books, Rain of Gold. But yeah, great way to start off my 4 minutes with Hispanic Heritage Month. You know, this just showcases the beauty of America in some cases, right? Like the fact that we all come from different countries of origins, but we still recognize and understand the differences and value those differences and cultural identities. This truly what makes our community so beautiful here in this beautiful country. And I'm very happy to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month with all you guys. A lot of fun stuff coming up on our city websites. Just be tuned for that. That being said, I want to also mention the fact that last Thursday, myself, Mayor Foley, and city staff had a Spanish town hall. It went really well. We did a Q&A for members of the community in Spanish. And a lot of things came up from that town hall that I'm very happy to report upon. First things first, a lot of residents were concerned about speeding on Meyer. I'm getting a lot of concerned residents because it seems like Ray Elementary School at night is becoming a hot spot for young people to go with their cars and rev them up pretty loudly and gather. So hoping that we can focus a bit more on that part of our city, because it is causing some disturbances and noises to our nearby residents, and it's not really fair for them. Furthermore, I also want to just thank CMABS for their wonderful demonstration. As mentioned, they did 2 roundabouts, one in my district, District 4, on Center and Wallace, and one on 19th Street and Monrovia and District 5. We really want to hear your feedback, Costa Mesa, on these roundabouts. You know, this is something we're doing temporarily to see how it works, but we're definitely looking for ways to calm traffic, make sure we have safer streets for you guys. So if you've not done so, please go check them out and give us your honest feedback, because that's very crucial for us here in City Hall. As well, I want to mention the fact of street sweeping. So as mentioned in the town hall, a lot of people have concerns about the street sweeping. We are having internal talks with City of Costa Mesa. One thing we are discussing is perhaps having a police officer actually follow the street sweeper, so there's not a range of time where you can get a ticket, but you know, you only get a ticket if you're there before the street sweeper comes through. Just one small thing we're taking by taking account your points of view, people of Costa Mesa, so please keep giving your suggestions. And finally, I want to give a quick update on the Tradewind mobile home park. So last council meeting, I mentioned the feral cat incident. We have since learned that we have new management at the Tradewinds, and I'm happy to report that our police chief and the police department of Costa Mesa have actually been in contact with the new owner regarding the feral cat issue. Because it's private property, we cannot trap the cats ourselves, but we can transfer them once trapped. So we're definitely hoping that working with CMPD and animal control, we can get it under control. So anyone in that community, if things are not improving or you want any more questions, please reach out to me at manuel.chavez@costamesaca.gov. And yeah, thank you guys for hearing my update.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, good job. Now we have Councilmember Marr.
Thank you. And yeah, I just want to echo so many things Councilmember Reynolds said about Hispanic Heritage Month. I mean, this is really an opportunity too for us to educate ourselves about those who came before. I always try to find somebody new that I didn't know about, or some history that I should be more educated on. So this is a good month for reflection. I want to thank the city staff who put together the cooling center so quickly. We're going to be dealing with more and more climate-related disasters as we move forward, and I know a lot of people don't have air conditioning. We think we're coastal. Most people probably thought they didn't need it, but if we're going to start having temperatures in the triple digits, it's just going to become all the more necessary. So thanks to staff for staffing that and pulling it together so quickly. You know, I also just want to sort of give my thoughts and put them in your prayers if you pray for the firefighters who have been on the front lines across California. So we've sent out a couple of crews. We've still got people out there. And so that, again, talking about climate disasters, I mean, that is just going to continue to impact us in pretty horrific ways. And so, you know, we'll continue to support through our mutual aid program, and please keep those people in mind. Thanks to Mr. Erickson for the presentation. That was great. I think that's a wonderful idea. I had no idea how far around Tewinkle it actually was. So I think that's helpful information for people to know, and a pretty easy thing to do. So hopefully that's something we can tackle in the coming months. And then to the comment about CCA, so there was a meeting with Irvine today to sort of talk through what they're thinking. We're in the really preliminary stages of even understanding what Irvine is proposing and what the Joint Powers Authority would look like. I mean, we literally got a document this afternoon to review. So, I mean, nobody's making any decisions without understanding what the heck we're doing. It's very preliminary in terms of information gathering. That being said, and just, you know, I'm going to get cut off on time here, but like CCA 101, the idea behind it is that potentially there's cost savings to our residents between 1% and 3 or 4% likely, if we're able to find ways of procuring power directly. So SC still maintains the transmission and distribution lines, but we basically negotiate for where that power comes from. And so you're seeing cities that are experiencing significant cost savings, but also giving them an opportunity to further invest in EVs or renewables or energy efficiency, or really what our community needs. And so I think it's a good idea that I want us to continue to explore, but you know, obviously the community needs to get educated along with us as well. And I think that was all I had. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Stevens.
Yes, thank you everybody for your comments. And I just have a few myself. So I serve on behalf of the city of Costa Mesa on the San Joaquin Transportation Corridor Agency. And we just appointed last week Samuel Johnson as the new CEO. I just want to congratulate him and let everybody know that I think he's going to do a great job. He's extremely strong leader, inspirational leader, and happens to be the first African-American in that position. And also he's a modern-day monarch dad. His son and my son graduated the same year from Modern Day High School. So we got a monarch in a great position. So that's great. It's campaign season. So you're going to see a lot of yard signs out there. Between now and the next meeting, our timing kicks in where yard signs can be in parkways 24/7. Please bear with the candidates, and also don't touch those signs, don't move those signs, don't destroy those signs. We take that very seriously. It's part of our First Amendment rights, and the DA has even prosecuted sign destruction cases before. Regarding traffic issues, there's some traffic that we're looking into calming on West Mesa Verde Drive, considering a stop sign on roads. So I've talked to Raja about that. And then finally, on a very sad note, I'd just like everybody to pray for the family of Coach Jimmy Nolan and Coach Nolan. His son and wife and 2 daughters were in a tragic crash in South Carolina, and his wife and son and daughter are recovering, but unfortunately his 3-year-old daughter Mickey did not recover. She passed away. And so if we could please adjourn the meeting on behalf of Mickey Nolan, I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Everyone's been very busy and active. And I would like to just give a real quick update on where we are with regard to our COVID response. For those of you who don't know, our numbers are looking better, and we are starting to open up a little bit more. Really important that you understand that the city council, the city manager, the mayor, we actually have very limited ability to make decisions about which business sectors, which types of park amenities and the like are allowed to open. That's decided by the county health office and the public health director for the state of California and the governor. And so what we've been doing is working really hard to get businesses and get our sport groups and work with our community groups and our faith groups so that when we do get the green light to open, everyone is ready to go with the appropriate social distancing, with the protocols, knowing what they are, and ready to be in compliance, but allow a little bit more opening. So we now have 50% opening at South Coast Plaza, and the Plaza is doing really well. The Plaza has a lot of protections in place. Everyone's required to wear a mask. They have a ventilation system that they've installed to basically kill germs. They have housekeepers there cleaning constantly. They have the rails for the escalator being cleaned constantly. And hand sanitizer. They even hand you hand sanitizer when you leave or when you arrive at the Plaza. So there's a lot of good things happening at the Plaza if you'd like to join others and go to the Plaza. There's restaurants are now at 25% dine-in. Of course, a lot of our restaurants have opened up their patios, and we have our temporary use permit that has allowed them to have a little bit of outdoor space. So we're continuing to work with our restaurants to have outdoor space and 25% dine-in. I know a lot of restaurants taking advantage of that. We also have our places of worship now can have individuals come in to the for the congregation to come in 100 people or 25%, whichever is fewer. And of course, still required face masks and social distancing between households that are not in the same household. The sport teams have youth organizations like AYSO and our football leagues, etc. They have put together their return to play plans, and they've submitted those to our community and service parks and services director, Mr. Mentor, and he's reviewing those plans. They've also gone through our city attorney. And so I believe that soccer started last week out on the Jack Hammett field, and it's not for competition or tournaments, but for skills training and conditioning. So if Little League comes back, they could maybe do batting practice, but they can't do anything where they share the ball or they touch each other in any kind of contact sport way. So that's what we're working on right now with our sport groups. And I know that the school district is expecting to have TK through second grade go back to in-person learning as of September 29th. And then it'll go third grade through sixth grade on October 1st, and then seventh grade through 12th grade on October 12th. And so we will start to see more in-person learning, and it's on a hybrid schedule. If you have kids in the schools, you know this already. So I'm not going to go into all those details. And so that's where we are in the community. We thank you so much for wearing your face mask and socially distancing yourself, trying to avoid gatherings, trying to avoid crowds. And we do think that it's helping us to keep our numbers down. We do have some hotspot areas in the city, and we're working with the county health department and some other nonprofit organizations to try to make some inroads there and try to get some families tested, as well as get some education to some of those families. We have our testing site open at the Orange County Fairgrounds, and anybody can get tested there. It's free. Let me say that again. It's free. You don't have to have insurance. You can go online to 360clinic.md and you can make your reservation online. Most people have been exposed. So if you check that you were exposed, you'll skip over a whole bunch of questions. But make sure that if you are working, especially if you're working in a restaurant or in a place where there's lots of people always, that you get tested so that you don't go to work sick or you don't bring it home to your family and get them sick. So that's what we've been working on, trying to keep our businesses open. We also have distributed, I think we're up to, I don't know the exact number, so I'm not going to say it, but we allocated $1.7 million in grants, and most of them have been distributed to small businesses. The feedback that I'm getting is that many of those small businesses are paying their rent with that money, so that's helpful to our landlords also. So the small business is helping the other business, and so hopefully everybody will have some balance here soon. We also, I know that Council members Marr and Reynolds are working really hard on getting our food distribution programs continuing. And now we have at the at the IKEA, another food distribution by reservation only, that you can go to Power of One Foundation and learn more about that. Save Our Youth is also participating in those programs. And if you need assistance, please contact City Hall. If you have an issue, you can contact the non-emergency line at 714-754-5252, or you can, if you have a school question, you can contact 714-424-5050, and that's for anything related to school issues. You can use that number. The skate park is still closed. That is not our decision. That is a decision by the county health office. Every Friday, we ask about why is the skate park required to be closed, and they tell us that it is because they want to avoid gatherings. So know that we would like to open the skate park. We think that it's one of those kinds of uses where you can not gather and still recreate, but we're not allowed to. Playgrounds are also still closed by the county health officer, not the city of Costa Mesa, the county health office. And we don't have discretion to open those at this time. So hopefully that answers some questions that we've been getting. And with that, we will move into the rest of our meeting. Okay, let's see. Ms. Farrell Harrison, do you have anything else to report?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. I just had a couple of things that I wanted to update you all on. Next week, we will be having on Tuesday, next week Tuesday, so a week from today, we will be having our study session for the month of September. The topic will be homelessness and housing. And so our team led by Susan Price, Assistant City Manager, and also Stacy Lumley will be providing you an update on all of our efforts around the topic of homelessness and then also housing. I wanted to just share that we have housed 151 people since our shelter opened in April of 2019. That's broken down by 68 clients from our bridge shelter and then 83 people who've been housed by our street outreach team. So we're really very thankful for our street outreach team that's going out there every day and helping to get people back on their feet. We know that there's an incredible amount of need, and we're providing resources through our street outreach and then also through our shelter. And so really thankful for the work and the efforts of staff to get that done during a very difficult time. We've been receiving a lot of feedback that we need to do more. And so next week, we'll be talking about some of the additional efforts that we'll be making around some of these very challenging issues that many cities are seeing, especially now with COVID and the pandemic. And so please look forward to our study session next week. I would also like to remind everybody that you can reach out to the city if you have some concerns and you want to give us feedback on this topic. And so please make sure to email us or call our non-emergency number. One of the key factors that we'll be discussing next week in terms of ways that we can improve the services that we provide on this really difficult issue is enhancing the funding that we receive from different levels of government for this. And so we'll be talking about unique opportunities that we have with Orange County, and then also other grants that are available and opportunities that are available through regional partnerships. The benefit of looking at this from a broader perspective, knowing that a lot of individuals move back and forth. We all do. Just because you're experiencing homelessness at the moment doesn't mean that you're fixed to one location. We know that folks are moving about their daily lives through many different cities and areas, and having a regional approach has many benefits. And so we'll talk about some of the funding benefits associated with partnerships that we can enter into to really address this on a multi-city basis. And so please look forward to the study session next week. I also wanted to remind everyone that we just have a few more days for the census. And so we urge you to please, if you have not completed the census, please do so. It's a very short questionnaire. I remember filling out the census probably 15 years ago, and it was probably one of the longest surveys I've ever completed in my life, but that has changed. The census now is very simple. It took me literally 8 minutes to complete it. It's very easy. Go to 2020census.gov. There's $675 billion in federal funding that's allocated for education, healthcare, parks, emergency services. So please make sure that we get our fair share in Costa Mesa. Please fill out your questionnaire. We're currently at a 72.3% self-response participation rate. That's better than what we had in 2010, a 68%, but I know that we can do more. And so please, just takes a few minutes. It's very easy to complete. Get us over 75%, please. That's our goal. And there's money tied to it. And so cash is king and we need more of it. So please complete your census. And last but not least, I really wanted to congratulate our Costa Mesa TV team. They are the lucky recipients of 5 awards from the National Association of Telecommunications Officers and Advisors. The awards included 2 top honors, 2 awards of distinction, and 1 award of honor for the association's 2020 Advisors Government Programming Awards, which were announced during the organization's online national conference last week. And so we'll be working to congratulate them at our next or an upcoming council meeting. But I just wanted to thank, on behalf of all of us, just wanted to thank Dane Bora and the team at Costa Mesa TV for putting so many videos to life and telling our story in Costa Mesa, and just making us look so good and leading the pack industry-wide and receiving these 5 honors. And so thank you, Dane and the CMTV team. And then last but not least, I did have one final thing. I also wanted to thank our fire chief. And so our fire chief, Dan Stefano, has been sworn in as president of the California Fire Chiefs Association. It's a huge honor to be basically the top California fire chief for the entire state. And so very happy for our chief, Dan Stefano. He's such an incredible resource and asset for us here in Costa Mesa. So Dan, thank you for everything that you do every day to make us look so good, and all of your commitment and dedication. We know that you're a leader, not just in the region, but recognized statewide. And so congratulations on that very unique distinction. It's the first time in Costa Mesa history that one of our own receives that acknowledgement. And so thank you so much for putting us on the map in that way. And we know that you're great, but this is an incredible achievement for you. So thank you and congratulations.
Great news. That's wonderful. Congratulations, Chief. Excellent. Okay. Now we will move to the city attorney report. Ms. Barlow.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. It's come up at a couple of meetings, and I wanted to give you a brief update this evening on the status of marijuana dispensaries. As you know, we have a number of illegal dispensaries in the city, and staff has been working incredibly hard to address those. Just to give you some background, we have had 19 dispensaries that have been cited, prosecuted, or pursued in some way. 7 of those have been successfully closed. Of the remaining 12 that are still open, each of them has received at least 3 citations, and we are working with the State Bureau of Cannabis Control to pursue them. At the moment, the state is really focusing on illegal labs. I know that you probably heard there was a large number of people killed in at an illegal lab farm, something recently in San Bernardino County. I think it was San Bernardino County. So they're focusing on illegal labs. They're also focusing on marijuana dispensaries that are selling to children, to minors. That is a big priority for them at the moment. And so while they have been working very hard with us, we can expect that they will be prioritizing those 2 things for some short, at least, period of time. We are also working with the district attorney's office, who has encouraged us to seek civil injunctions due to how very busy they are. They will not be taking on any major dispensary cases for some time, as they're telling us, but we are working with them to get authority to pursue those dispensaries as if we were the district attorney's office. In other words, that we would have the same opportunity to prosecute through the city prosecutor's office as the district attorney would. In the meantime, we have several civil abatement actions that are either recently filed or about to be filed, and I don't want to identify any locations because that might, impair our ability to proceed. But we are working very hard on it. We are very aware of how important this issue is to the community, especially to residents who are seeing this in their communities. We're also aware of the safety risks that they pose, of the public nuisance and parking activity that is creating a problem. And I think the fact that these dispensaries are not only selling unsafe and illegal products, but they are not paying taxes, even though some of them purport to collect taxes. And so there are many, many reasons for you. If you are looking at a marijuana dispensary in the city of Costa Mesa at the present time, there are no legal ones. So please do not frequent those facilities. They are causing problems for the neighbors. They are not paying taxes. They are selling you illegal product. So there is a measure on, you can look at that. But primarily, I just wanted to update you on where we are in terms of the illegal dispensaries currently located in the city. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. Council members, anyone have any questions? Nope, I don't see anyone. Okay, thank you, Ms. Barlow. Appreciate that update. At this time, we will turn to the consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine, and we will act on them in one motion. There'll be no separate discussion unless a member of the public, staff, or council member requests that an item be pulled from the consent calendar for discussion. Ms. Green, have we had any requests to have any items pulled?
Madam Mayor, I have no request.
Okay. All right.
Madam Mayor, I did have a request. I think got my email to Brenda a little bit late.
Oh, okay. Which item?
11 and 15. Make sure I get those right.
Yeah, 11 and 15.
Okay. 11 and 15. Okay. So we'll pull those 2 items. Mayor Pro Tem Stevens?
Move the balance, please.
Is there a second? Please raise your hand on the hand.
Second.
Or say second. Okay, motion by Mayor Pro Tem Stevens, second by Councilmember Chavez. Call for the question.
Councilmember Reynolds?
Yes.
Councilmember Marr?
Yes.
Councilmember Mansour?
Yes.
Councilmember Guinness?
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Stevens,
Yes.
Mayor Foley.
Yes.
And item number 11 is the acceptance and allocation of the Office of Traffic Safety for the Selective Traffic Enforcement Program.
Okay, I'm sorry, but before we go to item 11, can you announce the vote?
Oh, I'm sorry. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, item number 11. Let's see who would have that. Is that Mr. Setharaman, or is that, no, that would be Chief Glass?
Yes, Chief Glass.
Glass, are you there?
I am. I was trying to get a hold of Lieutenant Deball, who was handling it. So go ahead.
Okay, do you want me to, I'll go, let's go to number 15 and we'll go back to that one, okay?
Yes, please.
Okay, item number 15, can you read that, Ms. Green?
Of a professional services agreement to Q3 Consulting for the Storm Drain System Master Plan update.
Okay, would that be Mr. Setharaman?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Hi there.
So do you like a brief presentation from me?
Sure, I think a brief presentation would be in order, especially this is such an important issue for our community. I loved Council Member Reynolds posted the picture of the guy on the surfboard that happened. Gosh, I feel like that was forever ago, but maybe it was just last year. Yeah. And so we know that our storm drain system is important and improvements to it is important. So love a brief presentation.
Can you see the presentation?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So it's a scope of work for mainly design services at this point. So it's a development of an update of a storm drain master plan. We did our previous storm drain master plan, I would say about 10 years ago, and it needs to be updated. And there are 3 different phases for the project. One is the actual implement. That phase 1 is update itself. Phase 2 is review the fee study and incorporate any changes in the fee study. And phase 3 is the design of West Side storm drain improvements. So the phase 1 will involve environmental and civil engineering. And it's actually a modeling of our storm drain system with various scenarios of storm events and seeing what kind of improvements are needed to address the various levels of storms. As I mentioned in the phase 2, we take all these improvements and we look at existing and future development and see what kind of fee adjustments are to be made so that we can fund a lot of these needed improvements. And as I mentioned, the last phase is specifically looking at 17th and Pomona. This area experiences severe flooding on major rain events. So the last one was actually we had a 100+ year storm event a couple of years ago, and it resulted in flooding of this location for up to 5 feet above the road surface, and some flooding into adjacent businesses. So that kind of a storm event, if it happens, can be. So we reviewed a total of 4 proposals based on our request for proposals, and 2 top-rated firms were selected for further interview, and Q3 Consulting was determined to be the highest ranked due to their experience and understanding of the project. And the overall project timeline for all phases to be done is approximately 17 months. The total contract amount is about $760,000. There is a request for 10% for contingency, and we have funding for this from our drainage fees that we have, and also we have funding in the set aside for design of West Side storm drain improvements. So that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, I can answer that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sethuraman. Mayor Pro Tem Stevens had his hand up, but Councilmember Reynolds called this item up. So I'll go to Councilmember Reynolds first, then Mayor Pro Tem Stevens, then Councilmember Guinness.
Okay, great, thank you. Yeah, so I think because this is such an important issue, I'm of course most familiar with flooding on the west side, but I do think that's where some of our most difficult drainage problems are. Just wanted the opportunity to really understand this a little bit more and have that documented for members of the public who are interested. So, Mr. Sethuraman, this study it actually moves pretty fast, as I understand it. And there was you mentioned that part of the scope will develop a specific design solution for 17th and Pomona, where we've had historically had some of our biggest challenges. And then we also had this map of the different hotspots in the city. Is it correct that this scope provides solutions, sort of design concepts, in one case, an actual design, but this funding doesn't cover actually implementing any of those solutions. Is that right?
Yes, Madam Mayor, Councilmember Reynolds, that's correct. So this is a study that is looking at the master plan and as you mentioned, design specific improvements here. It's also looking at the hotspots to design the overall system to accommodate even what kind of improvements are needed at the hotspots. Again, it's just identifying at those locations but not designing them. Whereas at 17th and Pomona, it goes to the next step of designing them. And then we look for funding opportunities. There are funds from OCTA through their measurement program that we can go after, or some other funding options are available.
So can you describe what that next step is when we're implementing solutions? What is the expected time frame for that? And if you have any anticipated budget based on what you know to be some of the drainage challenges?
Of course. There are a wide variety of solutions for addressing the storm drain. So there are some smaller, easier type of solutions like catch basin improvements, and typically those are done as part of any roadway project. So if we have a project in that area, we do implement a bigger catch basin or add a catch basin kind of improvements. For projects like what's needed at 17th Pomona, that might be a little bit more involved. We might have to increase the size of the pipes, or we might have to add more storage if we cannot push that much water through. So those become into millions of dollars solution, and that's where we look for funding over time, or we go for grant opportunities.
And there were some areas on that map of hotspots, or the map of hotspots, there were, I think was missing some areas that we know there has been some flooding in the past. What is the process, or would it be a scope change if we wanted to add hotspots, or what's the process of identifying all the areas that we need to address?
So the concept is, we already know some hotspots. We already have that information of these are some locations typically observe flooding, we know that. But the way the consultant is going to approach is he's going to take the information, but through their modeling, they can identify other locations where improvements are needed. So it's not just limited to the hotspots, but it's looking at the system-wide to see improvements throughout the city that may be needed. Some are definitely the hotspot locations, but there may be other locations too that our consultant may identify as needing improvements.
I think I heard you just say modeling. Will there be a public input process, or as we head over the next sort of 12 months of rainy season, will we be collecting any data that way?
Madam Mayor, Councilmember Reynolds, it's really hard to wait for the rainy season to see what kind of rains we have and then look at the flooding. So we have historical data that we can definitely use. And with the information they gathered through surveys and through modeling the rain events, they can actually predict some of the locations too, based on their knowledge right now with how water flows in this area. We should be able to come up with improvements that will handle different storm events. And definitely past experience is helpful. And if there is anything that happens this rainy season, that will be great. We can use that information as well.
Okay, so even with the scope as written, there's opportunity to add areas to the hotspot map that are not currently there.
That's correct.
Okay. The scope does include, it mentions 2 community workshops. What are those focused on?
The community workshops are focused on presenting the information from the study and gathering input during the process. If Mayor can join, he can also answer any other questions.
Mr. Mejia, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, Mr. Thurman. I'm going to start with the public workshops, as Mr. Thurman stated. We will gather information from the public after the consultant has performed the initial studies to obtain more information. At those meetings, we expect to hear also anecdotal information as to some of the hotspots that can be validated through the modeling process to make sure that we address every one of those situations. One of the challenges that we gave our consultants was to make sure that there was extensive public outreach, to make sure that we gather information from all areas of the city, and that is one of their tasks for them to include.
Okay, good, thank you. I wanted to confirm that there will be an outreach process for sort of resident observations on where they've had some drainage issues. I just had 2 budget questions. Since it is a large dollar amount and every dollar matters. One of them is on, actually noticed on the public outreach and education meetings task, but I think it would apply to all meetings. They mention that the costs includes travel and so on, some of the standard costs that are included in meeting time. Since we're doing all these meetings virtually now, and probably will be for the next year, I think those costs are probably overstated. Is that fair?
So, Madam Councilman Reynolds, of course, yeah, if there is no travel involved, or if it's all virtual, there will be some savings.
Okay, yeah, because I suspect, since I build budgets just like this, that there's travel time built in on their standard assumptions, and travel time or in-person meetings at $200+ a pop can add up quick. So I would ask that we carefully manage that and make sure, see if we can get some savings there. The other question is, I know it's standard that we have these 10% additional dollars that we add, so you have a little bit of flexibility if there is some scope change. I noticed, though, that there's also a $50,000 line item in the budget that's called additional scope of work items, and it says shall be used only as directed in writing by the city's project manager. So are those 2 items redundant? Do we need the 50,000 sort of, I would call it like a buffer budget, plus the additional 10% that you're asking for in the recommendation? That's over $100,000 extra on this scope.
So, Madam Councilman Reynolds, it does appear that the 50,000 is an extra that's built in. We need to look into that a little bit more carefully on how that's applied. Now, sometimes it's during the design process, we might have to engage additional experts or work on items that are not in the budget, but related to the project that should be included, and that's where this comes in. The contingency is more for example, if we going through the design process, if we have to add more detail onto items, or there is some anticipation of certain level of improvements in the design, but if we exceed that, then the contingency would kick in. I would think that's more applied in the design part of the project.
Okay, I don't really see the difference there. I think they're both sort of buckets of money for slight modifications to the scope. So if you could please look into that, that may be an opportunity for a little bit of savings on this contract.
Yes,
thank you.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Stevens, you were up next, and then no. Okay, Councilmember Guinness, do you have any questions?
Yes. Would this work then be incorporated into our hazard management plan?
Mr. Sethuraman?
Madam Mayor, Councilmember Guinness, the hazard management plan, does include, risks of flooding and all that. So yes, we will review that for inclusion in that.
Okay, because then if we could do that and then get the hazard management plan completed, I know there's many other aspects of the hazard management plan as well for other, like, bluffs falling down and things like that. That could enhance our ability to get outside grants. So I think it's really important that we keep this updated and that we keep it current so that we can incorporate it into our plans, that just so we could enhance our ability to get outside grants, because I know in the past sometimes there have been potentially grants that we might have used for some of our improvements that we couldn't because some of our planning programs weren't quite up to date. And so I'm really glad we're doing this. Thank you. Assuming that this kind of money is still available in the future, so who knows?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further hands raised for council member questions, I will open this item up for public comment. I don't see any hands raised. If you'd like to speak to this item, please raise your hand in the participants window or press *9 on your telephone and press *6 to speak. I don't see any attendees seeking to speak. Okay, close the public comment. Council, may I have a motion, please? Okay, Councilmember Reynolds.
I'll move that we approve the item, but also have the city manager and public services director review the budget to see if there's savings here on the contingency funds.
Okay, Councilmember Guinness. You're on mute.
Second.
Okay. Does anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Councilmember Reynolds, did you want to speak to your motion? Or are you good?
I'll just add it's a really important project. I wish I understood the whole scope enough to really go through the budget here. But I am looking forward to the community engagement. I know this is a very important topic for a lot of people, and want to make sure we do our job to make sure we don't miss any flooded areas as part of this update. So thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Guinness, anything further?
Not other than to second and say it's very important, particularly as we have more and more impervious surfaces and our drainage changes due to that, not to mention changes in rain patterns, which result in a little different peaking as opposed to long, slow buildup. We're getting more gully washers, I think.
Agree. Okay, call for the question by voice vote.
Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Councilmember Guinness?
Yes.
Councilmember Mansour?
Yes.
Councilmember Moore?
Yes.
Councilmember Reynolds?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Stevens?
Yes.
Mayor Foley?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, we'll now move to item number 11. And Chief Glass, as I see Lieutenant Deball is on the line. So Lieutenant Deball?
It's actually Captain Bacala signed on for Lieutenant Deball.
Okay.
We're going to speak about the OTS grant for this year. We are awarded an OTS grant of $269,500 at no cost to the citizens of Costa Mesa. And we're going to be using this for 4 DUI and driver's license checkpoints, 85 DUI saturation patrols. This is a new item. It's a collaborative DUI enforcement with our allied agencies. We're going to do 2 of those operations. We have traffic enforcement, which is for red light cameras, speeding, etc. 20 of those operations. We have 8 for distracted driving. That is mainly cell phones. We're doing 3 for motorcycle safety. We have 6 pedestrian and bicycle enforcement. That's where we do the PED things where we have people in crosswalks crossing. Generally, we do that around the graduation time and the beginning of school usually, and we can adjust as needed. And then below that, we're going to have 2 additional collaborative traffic enforcement with our allied agencies. And this will give us the opportunity to work with anybody in that borders our city in helping with the traffic collisions, etc. Ms. Foley, maybe that's for the that Mesa Irvine Avenue. We could assist in that if required.
Okay.
Any of your questions?
Thank you. Okay, so just for the community, for those viewing, the acronym is Office of Traffic Safety for the Selective Traffic Enforcement Program. That's what the acronym stands for. So thank you so much for that, Captain Bacala. And Council, any questions? Councilmember Guinness, is your hand up from before, or is that a new question? Okay. I don't, Councilmember Reynolds, you asked for this item to be pulled. Did you have questions? You're on mute.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Mr. Bacala. Surprised you on this one tonight, but I'm going to just acknowledge that I'm letting you off the hook on the ticket one. Lieutenant Bacala has been fantastic in sharing some data as I'm really trying to dig into our collision data here. So one of my questions, Lieutenant Bacala, is how we choose where we do the enforcement operations.
Captain Bacala?
Yes, each of our enforcement operations, we look at the collision data as I've shown you in those meetings, ma'am, and we look at the most serious incidents of injurious collisions in the city, those locations, intersections or stretches of roadway.
Is that the same with the bicycle and pedestrian safety operations?
Yes, that's the same thing. What we do is we look in we're able to take information from our Crossroads database, and it'll tell us where the most collisions are occurring with pedestrians and bicycles. And then we'll go and enforce in those areas.
Have we done any on Newport Boulevard?
We have not done any bicycle and pedestrian enforcement on Newport Boulevard. We've done several DUI saturation patrols on Newport Boulevard.
Okay. Newport Boulevard is, I don't remember, a member of the community had shared some data that publicly available data on the Berkeley Safe site that I think compiles a lot of information that the police departments collect on collisions. And it was striking to me that, I forget over the time period, it was like over the past 4 or 5 years, half of our deaths, pedestrian and cyclist deaths, happened on Newport Boulevard between 19th Street and 17th Street. So I think it would be really important to consider some operations there. The other item I wanted to maybe share, I guess this is more of a comment than a question. One, I think it's fantastic. It looks like we've gotten this grant with OTS almost every year for the past 15 years. There's been a change in the last 2 years on traffic safety strategies, and it was actually a pretty significant change. The Safe Routes to School organization, for example, a lot of the safety organizations talk about the 6 E's of transportation safety. And it used to be that enforcement was one of them, and they've officially dropped enforcement from the design strategies for safety. And I think that's important one, to understand why. Basically, it's something that they found can be very effective at the time, right? When someone sees a police officer, they know they're going to slow down. But it's, as you know, we can't afford to have our police officers sitting at these locations all over the city every day. So they're effective. What some of these organizations have found is it's effective for a short point of time, but not long-term effective. And so I share that, one, because I want to make sure that we're pursuing the most effective strategies, but two, I wonder if in the future, to remain competitive in these grants, we consider incorporating some of the other strategies. The 6 E's now is just poking it on the website, are engagement, equity, engineering, which is a huge part of what the demos that we're doing now on 19th Street are about, encouragement, education, and evaluation. So just want to make sure you all are aware of that as we continue to pursue these grants, sort of that change in philosophy on effective transportation safety.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. We meet with the Office of Transportation Safety every year before the grants, and they walk us through the process and tell us what the new and latest updates are for each of our grants.
Great, thank you.
Okay, is that it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, no other questions from council. Open this item up for public comment. If you would like to speak to this item, please raise your hand in the hand raise feature in the participants window, or press *9 on your telephone and then press *6 to speak. Is there anyone who would like to speak to this item? Okay, seeing no one, I will close the public comment and take a motion on this item. Councilmember Reynolds, is your hand raised?
Yeah, staff recommendation.
Okay, Councilmember Marr?
Second.
Okay, seeing no other hands raised, call for the question by voice vote.
Councilmember Reynolds?
Yeah.
Councilmember Marr?
Yes.
Councilmember Mansour?
Yes.
Councilmember Guinness?
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Stevens?
Yes.
Mayor Foley?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, I'm going to take a brief bathroom break at this point before we move on to Lions Park projects, which will likely take about an hour. We'll take just 5 minutes and come back in 5 minutes. It's 7:42.
Okay, Madam Mayor, you can go live.
Okay, thank you. We're back. And next item, we will begin our new business items. We have no old business tonight. Ms. Green?
Lions Park Playground Improvement Project, City Project number 20-15. Presentation by Mr. Seth Rahman, Public Services Director.
Okay, thank you. This is one of two new business items tonight. Mr. Sathuraman?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'm going to share screen. Can you see this?
Yes.
Great. So we are really excited to bring this to you finally. It's long waited improvements for Lions Park. So Lions Park was built in 1940s and originally called Costa Mesa Park. And the entire park itself is a complex. It includes Luke Davis Field, the Historical Society, Downtown Recreation Center, Fire Station 3, our new library, and the Norma Herzog Community Center, which is almost getting done, and the playground. This is our current playground. As you can see, the equipment is quite old, and we have a large restroom building inside the park. And this park has been closed for a while. The scope of work for this project will include removal of all the existing play equipment and replacing with brand new equipment that was selected through significant community outreach, demolition of the current restroom building and construction of a new restroom in the southwest corner of the park. New playground surfacing to resemble like an aircraft carrier, refurbishing of the plane. That's a big feature of this park. Modifying of existing utilities, significant hardscape improvements to provide service as well as drainage and ADA accessibility. Here is the playground equipment. This includes play pieces for older kids as well as younger kids. So this large structure that you see here, that's our centerpiece for 5 to 12 age group, and then the top left is a smaller play piece for 2 to 7 age group. And then we have a lot of other ancillary items that go with the park, including there's a little sand play area, and there are quite a few seesaws and spring toys and swings. As I mentioned, the restroom is going to be reconstructed. This is a 3-stall restroom that's going to be built in the southwest corner, and it's a prefabricated building that's going to be set in place. So we opened bids on this project on August 27th, and our low bidder is Handy Industrial with a low bid amount of $1.78 million. And we have current funding within park development fees, and we are also proposing to use some of the drainage fees for the project, because we are upgrading the drainage in this area by adding a storage box actually underneath in this area, so that will capture some of the drainage that would end up on the street. So some of the drainage fees can be used to pay for this upgrade. With that, that's the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sathuraman. Let's leave that picture up. And doesn't that look fun? Don't we wish we could all do that right now? Looking at any questions from, hold on, there we go. Councilmember Guinness has her hand up. Councilmember Guinness.
What is the thing that's on the far right-hand side that's a sort of a tan colored blob?
Yes. Madam Mayor, Councilmember Guinness, I think you're looking at this globe type of structure.
Right under the globe.
Oh, that's
Sandcastle.
Sandcastle.
And is that, what is it? Is it just a small decorative feature? Is it large enough for kids to climb on? What is it?
Yeah, it is big enough for kids to climb on. There are little steps that you can use to climb up onto this castle.
So is it over,
and then what?
tall? Is it over 6? It's over 6 feet tall, I think. Right?
Yes. And it's designed for.
Well, what age is it geared towards?
My concern again is this is more in the 2 to 5 age group. It's mostly kids. There's a small sand play area and for kids to play in the sand, and this is part of that.
Okay, so we have the toddler type stuff. And then you referenced the one piece of equipment that would be for the 5 to 12-year-olds. What about kids who are getting, you know, more like 12, 13, 14? Do we have anything geared towards that age group?
So my concern again is large clips, even though we say it's 5 to 12, I'm sure everybody would be on it. Even I could go on them too. So it's a fun equipment. It's for, while we say it's 5 to 12, it's for even older kids.
And it would be sized adequately that bigger kids would find it fun to climb on, to pursue various physical activities.
Yes, possibly.
Okay, because I actually had been intrigued by the small climbing item because I had hopes that would have been designed for bigger kids, because we really don't have that much stuff. In fact, that's what I heard from some of the kids in the area, not only in that area, but elsewhere in Costa Mesa. We have our tot lots, and we have a lot of stuff designed for little kids, but the bigger kids sometimes get left behind unless, if they're not interested in team sports, they're kind of left behind. So I hope that we do have things geared towards, you get that, you know, more junior high, even into high school aged kids.
Okay, do you have any questions? Okay, Councilmember Reynolds.
Yeah, I wanted to clarify, Mr. Sethuraman, what is not included in this design that I know there was interest in, but couldn't be included because of budget issues, and then just understand what the process is to add in some of those elements as we can find funding for them. So some of the things that I recall were really important. One was shade. As we all know, it can get really hot and it's only getting hotter. Can you point out to us where we have shade in this design?
Yes.
Other than the trees, of course. Yeah.
Yes, Madam Mayor, Councilmember Reynolds, with respect to your question as to what was excluded, we did exclude 2 large picnic shelters that were part of the original design. We excluded some of the enhanced landscaping with quite a bit of shrubbery that goes along with that design. There was also an entry monument sign that's a little bit more fancy with an airplane on top of it. So we took that out also. The one thing that we, as we mentioned in our previous report, we wanted to keep all the play pieces and then the playground surface, because that kind of fixes, that's the main focus of this playground and the restroom building. The other items, like the shade structures, can be added. We incorporated quite a bit of seating. I hope you can see my arrow. And the perimeter of the playground area, and these 2 benches here, you see that they have a shade structure on top of that. And we retained, there's quite a bit of trees around, so they provide some of the shade also.
Okay. And the where you just had your mouse, those 4 trees, that's sitting area, not sort of physical seats, but sitting area under those trees. Is that correct?
Those are actually benches. There are benches.
Oh, there are benches in there. Okay, great. Good. Thank you. Can you remind me where the two shade structures were would have been built or would be built when we find funding?
Councilman Reynolds, we had a design for a little bit of a concrete foundation here with a structure in this area, and there was another one, I believe, in this area.
Okay, great. Another one of the concerns raised by area residents was the bathroom and what our strategies were for sort of mitigating improper use of the bathroom. Can you describe what the strategy is there?
Yes, Madam Mayor, Councilor Mr. Reynolds. So the 3 restroom stalls that you see that we propose, they do not have any washing capability inside. All the hand wash station is outside the facility, so that helps in minimizing people lingering in there, and these are not fully enclosed. There is a little gap in the bottom, very small gap, and then the location itself of the restroom building, close to the view of even our police department or people walking on or going on 18th Street. I think that helps too, in minimizing any undesirable activities.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So what would be the process if we were able to, even after construction, when we get funds to add the picnic shelters, you mentioned the monument sign, what am I missing? More trees, all those other elements. What is the process to add those? Would those be CIPs or how does that work?
Yes, Madam Mayor, Reynolds, yeah, we will go through a CIP process, depending on so we can start thinking about those projects, and we can apply for grant funding, or we can apply for, if the funding situation improves and we can find money in our own budgets, we can add those elements.
Would you be able to send us estimated costs for each of those items?
Yes, we can do that.
Great. And then the last question, do you have I talked about during the construction phase. Oh, most important question, timing. When is this expected to open?
Once this is approved, we will begin construction in the middle of October, and by early spring, we'll be done with construction. So we'll be ready by March, April timeframe.
Okay, great. And I think because this has been such a long project coming, right, with some, I think this is the 3rd or 4th change in expected construction for, many good and different reasons. Now that we're finally here, I had mentioned it'd be wonderful to have some enhanced signage on the fencing during construction, showing some of these visuals with estimated completion date. You had mentioned that's not funded. What is your estimated cost for that signage?
Councilor Reynolds, the last time we checked, good quality graphics like that could run about $20,000 because of the size of it. So we will take a look at it and see what can be done. Maybe the other options that's out there that can be done. Maybe at a smaller scale that people can walk and look at it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. I have Councilor McGinnis, did you have your hand up again, or was that leftover? It's leftover?
No, I remembered. I forgot to ask something.
Okay.
It looks like on this plan there will be 14 trees. Is that correct? Is that how many trees will be retained of the existing trees, or are these total trees, new and old?
Councilor McGinnis, 14 are that's out there right now. That is, and we're adding 6 more trees to the area. I need to find out where, but we're adding 6 more trees.
And then how many would be removed?
Councilor McGinnis, we already removed 12 trees. So those were already removed.
Okay, so all the ones that are going to be removed are already gone.
That's right.
None of the remaining ones will be removed then.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I don't see any other hands raised by council, and so we will move to public comment. If you wish to speak to this item, please raise your hand by pressing *9 or raising your hand in the participants window. And when you're called on, press *6. Okay, seeing no one, we will close public comment, and I will move to approve the staff recommendation for this project.
Second.
I'm going to call on Councilmember Reynolds because she raised her hand first. Sorry, Mayor.
Gotta follow your rules. Second.
All right.
I didn't see you raise your hand, Mayor Foley.
I can't raise my hand. So. Okay, well, I'll speak to the motion, then I'll turn it over to Councilmember Reynolds. I think we all share excitement about taking this vote tonight. It's been a long time coming. I think it'll be the final completion of the Lions Park projects. Excited to participate sometime next month in the opening of our community center named after Norma Herzog, our first woman city council member and first woman mayor, Herzog Center. It's going to be really beautiful. We have our lovely library, big 1-acre park in front of the library that prior to COVID, it was great to see so many families out there enjoying, and our park staff engaging with so many families in programming. And we're hopeful that hopefully in the new year, we can get back to those activities. And then to have Lions Park project and the playground, I'm so excited. As a mom of 2 rambunctious boys who would have loved this playground, I've been to many, many playgrounds with those kids. This is going to be a phenomenal playground. And yes, Councilmember Guinness, that merry-go-round, it's a modern merry-go-round. Even adults can go in there, and I cannot wait to go into that spinning and spin it around. So I do think it's going to be a wonderful amenity for our entire community, but most especially for the West Side neighbors and families who live there. And we just can't wait. I want to thank Assemblywoman Cotty Petrie Norris for contributing through the state budget last year, helping us by contributing $1 million towards this project. So really grateful for that help. And I'm just excited. I can't wait till we dig a shovel into the ground. So having said that, thank you so much to Mr. Sethuraman for sharpening your pencil and helping us to find a way to keep all of the, really priority features of the park, but still make it less expensive so we can meet our budget, especially since we had to cut a little bit during the COVID time. So we really appreciate your hard work there in making that successful and making this project successful for us. So Councilmember Reynolds.
Great, thank you. Yeah, really excited to be at this last, maybe not last phase of the project, since I hinted at some additions to go forward. I actually really like the final design, the simplified design. I sure hope by the time this is open, I think you said in spring next year, we can play on the playgrounds and we can gather. Those shaded picnic tables will be really important because they were just, when this park was open, there were birthday parties, baby showers, picnics there every day of the week. Really important gathering place for residents in the area, a park that's been just closed way too long. And I appreciate having that open space to roam. So I don't want to cram it with too much extra stuff, but picnic tables will be important. It's the oldest park in the city, I believe. There's so much history at this park. So I hope Mr. Minter is listening as you all start planning some of the sort of lead up to the opening of this park. This will be a really fun one to learn a lot of the history of the city. We've got generations of Costa Mesans who have history on that airplane And it'd be wonderful if we could incorporate some of the community in some aspect of the construction project, maybe painting the airplane. Coincidentally, I hadn't thought of this, but my history on the airplane actually ties in well with Hispanic Heritage Month. I did, when taking Spanish in high school, I did my final project called Un Viaje a Puerto Rico. And we flew on that airplane, and I'll try to dig up that video, good old VHS video. I hope it still works. So really excited, long time coming. Thank you for all the creativity and finding a way to get this project back on the track with our constrained budget. Looking forward to 2021 for many reasons.
Yes, thank you. And one last thing I want to add. And Mr. Seth Robin, we're going to hold you to this timeline of spring because we need to have this park open for the annual fish fry so that we can bring it back in June and we can have a big celebration. So I know we're all looking forward to that. Okay, let's see. Councilmember Marr, then Chavez, then Guinness. Councilmember Marr.
I'll be quick. I just want to say thank you to Raja because we had, a really tough council meeting where we talked about the budget on this one and kind of ground down every edge that we could and found $50,000 here and there. And I think we gave you like the least amount to work with in terms of both design and budget that you could possibly have had, and you made it work. So just a thank you to you. It was not one of the more fun council meetings we've sat through before, but you took the ball and you ran with it based on what you had. So thank you.
Yay, agree. Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I too want to be brief. Thank you to staff and particularly to Mr. Seth Robin. This is a really crucial part of our community here in Costa Mesa, and the fact that we could finally have it finalized by next year is really, I think, the biggest point of this entire process. I think the journey here showcases how important this park was to our community. And I'm really happy that our future children and our future generations will have a great park to play in and experience. So thank you so much for all you've done for us.
Thank you. Councilmember Guinness.
Like several other members of the council, I remember playing in this park as a little kid, except for when I played, the airplane was not encased in cement. And when you sat on that thing in the summer, whoa, that hot metal, not to mention the weird wires hanging down inside the front of it and some sharp edges. But it was really, really fun. And so I'm looking forward to the kids in the future having just as much fun playing on this facility and playing on the lawn. And it's a shame that it hasn't been available for a while, but hoping that'll be the case. And I agree that sometimes simpler is better. Some of the earliest versions of the plans for the site were just crammed full of stuff that I don't know that they added. One version had little gremlins statues all over the place. And then there was some other one that had something equally odd. And I think this will serve our residents, and it'll have enough space that in the future, if funds become available, we could maybe add things or just let kids be creative, which is one of the most important things that we have to give kids opportunities for nowadays. And that's it.
Okay, Councilmember Mansour.
Real quick, first of all, thank you, Raja, for all your work on this. Thank you to all staff who's working on this and people working on the budget issues as well. I'm glad we're able to get this through considering everything that's going on. And it's a little sad that we couldn't do some of the other amenities that we wanted to, but that's life. Nobody saw all this coming. But I'm grateful that we are able to proceed and have something positive for the kids. So I definitely will be supporting this. Oh, and my kids are waiting for it. they want to get on the airplane.
Okay, excellent. Mayor Pro Tem Stevens.
Yeah, I just want to say that, again, some of the comments have already been made, but thank you to Cotty Petrie Norris, and also thank you to the council, and the staff. we had to tighten our belts. It's like we always say, or some people say, gee whiz, we got to tighten our belts. And sometimes we're even criticized for having our belts not tight enough or whatever, loose belt. I can talk, there's no one on this council that can talk with more authority about tight belts than I can. And I will tell you that our belts are tightened here, and that's good. And Raja, during this budgetary process, I remember the city manager describing you as an inspirational leader. And I just want to tell you that I feel that same way, that you've done a great job here. So thank you to Cotty, thank you to the council, thank you to staff for pulling this together for our children, not just for our children. My children will never play in this park. My grandchildren might play in this park, but children of generations in the future will play on the airplane and in this park. And it's because of the work that the people on this call did, and also Cotty Petrie Norris. So God bless everybody, and let those kids play.
Thank you. Okay. With that, we will call for the question by voice vote.
Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Councilmember Guinness?
Yes.
Councilmember Mansour?
To excuse myself for a personal issue, and I hope to be back in a few minutes. Thank
Did
you.
you say yes? What?
Yes, I just wanted to add, I need to
Okay.
excuse myself for a few minutes. I hope to be back.
Okay.
Be right back.
Councilmember Marr?
Yes.
Councilmember Reynolds?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Stevens?
Yes.
Mayor Foley?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Yay! Okay, that was fun. Next item of business is hopefully also going to be something pleasant. We have new business item number 2. Ms. Green?
Request council direction for the naming of a pocket park at University Drive and Santa Ana Avenue. Presentation by Mr. Mintner, Parks and Community Services Director.
Okay, Mr. Mintner.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. I'm glad to be doing my first item before the City Council. I have a short presentation for you, if you allow me to do a screen share. Let's do this right. All right, everybody can see that, right? We're good?
Yep.
All right, well, there are 2 actions in this recommendation. The first is consider waiving of the city parks and facilities naming policy. And the second is to consider the naming of the pocket park located at University Drive and Santa Ana Avenue, Perez Park, in honor of Rachel Perez Hamilton, a lifelong Costa Mesa resident and Orange Coast College Hall of Fame member. All right, the location of the pocket park, and just as a refresher, back in September of 2019, the City Council did approve this project. That is the location. This is an overview of what the playground will look like. This is the wall that will be right at the corner where the eventual name of the park will go. Rachel Perez Hamilton was a lifelong Costa Mesa resident. She grew up on the west side of the city and graduated from Newport Harbor High School and Orange Coast College. She also worked for the Coast Community College from 1976 to 1993. There's numerous awards that Ms. Perez received. She was inducted into the OCC Alumni Hall of Fame, into the OCC Athletic Hall of Fame, and she received a Coastline College Humanitarian Award in 1993. And she was a tremendous volunteer in the city, working for a number of organizations like the Airport Working Group of Orange County, the Mexican American National Association, the Micah Community Development Corporation, Share Ourselves, and St. Joaquin Catholic Church. As I mentioned, the recommendations include the waiver of the nomination policy, as well as the naming of the pocket park after Rachel Perez Hamilton. With that concludes my presentation, and I stand by to answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Stevens, you have your hand raised. Go ahead.
No, that's from my last comment.
Oh, okay. Seeing no questions from the council, well, oh, I do. Councilmember Guinness.
Reviewing the staff report, it seems like Ms. Hamilton was certainly made quite a contribution to our community. But I do have a question as to how this came about. Like, did staff or did anyone solicit names for the park, or how? I'm just curious because there's a reference in our policy. We're being asked to waive the policy, and I assume the reason we're being asked to waive the policy is normally the Parks Commission would have to take action. And since they're not meeting, they're not going to be taking action. But there's also a reference to a nomination form. Was she nominated by someone, and how did that happen? I'm just curious because sometimes when we go to name things, we have a whole community-wide situation where everybody submits names and so forth. And I was just curious as to how this came about.
Mr. Minter?
Yes, I believe back in July, staff had done kind of an informal request of city council members to see if there were any suggestions before we, began a process that included the PACS Commission. So the normal process would have been if there were no nominations submitted by the mayor council, we would have taken it before the commission for the routing of the process as indicated in the attached policy.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Stevens, your hand is still up. Is that from before? Okay. All right. Seeing no other hands raised, we will open this item up for public comment. If you'd like to speak to this item, please indicate so by raising your hand in the participants window or press *9 on your phone and press *6 when you're called upon. Anyone wish to speak to this item? Seeing no one, I will close public comment. And if you don't mind, I will make the motion on this one because I nominated her. I think it is perfectly fitting to name this park Perez Park after Rachel Perez Hamilton. Not only was she an amazing volunteer in our community on the east side, very involved in St. Joachim's Church, very involved at Orange Coast College, and also her husband is a was a veteran. She and her husband have since passed, but they have family that have deep roots here in Costa Mesa. And I do think that on Hispanic Heritage Month, that it's perfect that we name this park Perez Park. So having said all that, thank you. And anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Mayor Pro Tem?
No, I just second it.
Yeah, I heard.
Good.
You want to speak? Okay. Anyone else?
No, I agree with you. Everything you said, I agree with. Very impressive and a perfect person to name the park after. And it's going to be a really fun park for people in that area.
Yes. Okay. Councilmember Reynolds.
All right, quick question. Will there be a little plaque describing her as well? I don't know if that was included or if we can figure out how to include that. Not something we can do today.
No, that's a great suggestion. Yeah, hopefully we can do that. It's the county's park technically, but they've asked us to name it. But maybe we can contribute by putting a plaque out there. That's great. Okay, call for the question by voice vote.
Councilmember Reynolds?
Yes.
Councilmember Marr?
Yes.
Councilmember Mansour, are you back? Councilmember Mansour absent. Councilmember Guinness?
Yes, and I have an item of idle curiosity. I'm wondering, since the family has such deep roots, if the street is named for them or it's just a coincidence, but who knows?
That's a good question. We should find out.
Yeah. But yes.
Councilmember Chavez?
Yes, and I echo Member Guinness' question as well.
Mayor Pro Tem Stevens?
Yes.
Mayor Foley?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0-1 with Councilmember Mansour absent.
Okay, so at this time, we will move to additional council member
comments. If there's any, anyone have any additional comments? Mayor Pro Tem Stevens.
Yeah, I just wanted to say in my remarks about the Nolan family earlier, I don't think I was very clear. Jimmy Nolan is the coach, the football coach of the Costa Mesa High School Mustangs. So I just, I kind of skipped over that, but that's how he ties into the city of Costa Mesa. And again, his family's going through so much, and we should remember him in our prayers and his whole family.
Yes, thank you. Okay, any other, Councilman Reynolds, is this leftover or did you have something else? Okay, all right. The only other thing I wanted to mention is, I had forgot to mention earlier that, and it was kind of buried in my stack, in the August 2020 version of Western City Magazine, which is the magazine through the League of Cities, there is a great feature. And it's just such a bummer we didn't get to do this summer. But there's a great feature about Costa Mesa, and because of this crazy green screen, you can't see it. But it is Costa Mesa Summer Camp focuses on sports, music, and arts. And it's all about our SMART camp, which we really are proud of. And it's something that our community loves. And we look forward to it coming back next summer. But great article about Costa Mesa in there. And then also, we were also featured in the Families Forward. We're being featured in a lot of publications. We are also featured in the Families Forward annual impact report. And we have the opening of the Families Forward housing that some of us attended for the ribbon cutting. So really, great representation for Costa Mesa. And then finally, I wanted to, before we close, the first responders, thank you, Councilmember Marr, for bringing that up. Our first responders fighting fires under these just treacherous conditions, not just with the fire, but coupled with COVID and the risk. So it's very challenging work. And then on top of that, we have the LA Sheriff's deputies who were shot in the head, ambushed. You know, it's a very, very challenging time to be in public safety and to be a first responder. So I want to make sure that we recognize and appreciate the work of our first responders and all that they are going through up and down the state of California. It's just a very, very difficult time for them. So having said all that, I will adjourn the meeting in honor of Coach Nolan and his family, and we just send our love and our support to them. Thank you, everyone, and good night.